Greetings, fellow Dungeon Delvers, and welcome to Dorans and Dragons, where we work together to come up with Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition builds for your favorite League of Legends champions. Is death like the wind, always by your side? Do you feel like there's no cure for fools at your table? If so, then you're going to want to build Yasuo, the Unforgiven. Yasuo is a master swordsman who manipulates the wind itself against his enemies. He fled into exile when he was falsely accused of murdering his master. See, he's already got the edgy backstory covered. Perfect D&D character right off the bat. First, let's cover the goals of this build. We want to get mobile. Yasuo's fleet footwork makes him a conqueror on the battlefield. See what we did there? Anyway, we need to make sure he can run free and give your foes the headache he gives all of us. Their Yasuo versus our Yasuo is always a thing, am I right? Yasuo's passive, Way of the Wanderer, gives double crit chance and his flow shield. We can get one of these abilities or the other, but not both. Next, Steel Tempest. When we were partying, Yasuo studied the blade. Now we have the audacity to come to him for help. His Q ability is a sword thrust that charges up with successful hits. On the third charge, it fires a tornado, or, if done while dashing, you become a tornado of steel. Yasuo's Wind Wall ability allows him to deflect projectiles, possibly even redirect them. We'll have to flavor it as a wall of wind, but we do have some abilities to accomplish this. Sweeping Blade will require us to be able to dash through and strike our enemies. This turns our Steel Tempest into an AoE attack as well. Finally, Last Breath, Yasuo's ultimate ability, we need to knock an enemy airborne and hold them there for several awesome slashing attacks. Race is an easy choice. Yasuo is clearly a human. But since variant humans are broken, getting a free feat at level 1? Come on, wizards. We'll be going with that. You get to choose one language to learn. I suggest Primordial, it's the language elementals speak, and with his mastery of the wind, it stands to reason he'd be able to speak with air elementals as well. Variant humans get to choose an ability score increase, which allows them to increase any 2 scores by 1. I recommend bumping your dexterity as it's going to be your main offensive stat, and your wisdom as we're going to need it later for multi-class purposes and spell saves. Choosing the variant human also gives you a skill proficiency. I recommend acrobatics since you're very nimble and are able to dash through trees and over walls. With your free feat, we'll be taking mobile. Combining this feat with some of our class features later on covers Sweeping Blade entirely. Yasuo can dash by, striking multiple enemies in later levels without worrying about opportunity attacks thanks to this feat. Your base speed increases by 10 feet. When using the dash action, difficult terrain doesn't cost extra movement. This will let you zip around the battlefield, regardless of the remains of your enemies, or till you're tearing up the earth around you. Most importantly, when you make a melee attack against a creature, regardless of hitting it or not, that creature cannot hit you with an opportunity attack. Using this will allow you to literally run through the area, slashing multiple enemies, and end up wherever you'd like without danger. Just be wary, if your DM thinks this shit's getting old, they may tack on the Sentinel feat to their monsters, which will negate this specific feature. Based on Yasuo's backstory, I would lean towards the Hermit background, but the skill proficiencies are a little wonky, so instead I'd recommend a custom background. Call it the Exile. We'll grab Athletics and Survival for our 2 skill proficiencies. Living in the wilds of Runeterra would definitely require some understanding of the flora and fauna. You also get to choose 2 tool proficiencies. We'll pick up the flute and cartographer tools. Yasuo loves playing the flute, and I like to think he spent some of his downtime drawing the areas he went through. Also, the other options were fairly meh. For stats, we're going to be using the standard array. Roll if you'd like to, but we need at least a 12 out of our dexterity and wisdom thanks to our racial modifiers for multi-classing. Dexterity first. Yasuo is a nimble fighter. Quick of blade and body. Dexterity is a very overloaded stat in 5th edition, so this will help us out in a number of areas. Constitution next. He's been surviving in exile for quite a bit, which will require a fairly hardy constitution. Before his exile, Yasuo is considered the class clown of the town. Life experience has taught me that requires a bit of charisma to pull off, so we'll take that next. After that, we'll grab our wisdom. With our racial bonus, this will cover us for multi-classing, and through his trial and tribulations, I would expect that he's grown quite a deal wiser. Strength isn't a big deal for Yasuo, he packs lightly and uses his speed far more than raw muscle in combat. Intelligence is last. I've seen the people who main this guy. Trust me, this is the dump stat. Standard equipment will be fine, just make sure to grab a short sword for yourself, and beg your DM to let you flavor it as a wakizashi. Yasuo's katana will have to make like me in the cold and shrink up, so we can benefit from the multi-class features later on. We're going to kick things off with a level in fighter. Yasuo was a swordsman before he learned the ancient techniques of the wind. You start with a d10 hit die. You're only going to get a few levels of this beefier hit die, so appreciate it while it lasts. You also get full armor proficiency. Not really relevant for what we're going for, but hey, fighter's gonna fighter, am I right? You're also proficient in all weapons, though you'll only be using a short sword for this build, unfortunately. The fighter gets access to 2 skills. We'll pick up Intimidation and Perception here. Being on the road running from potential assassins would keep your perception up at all times, and the stories of killing said assassins would definitely up your intimidation game. First level fighters get to choose a fighting style that'll apply bonuses to certain types of combat. We'll take Dueling here, which will give us a +2 to damage rolls when we only use a one-handed melee weapon. Level 1 fighters also get Second Wind. Once per short rest, you can heal yourself for 1d10, plus your fighter level as a bonus action. Taking a second level in fighter really gives us the goods. Action Surge is the honest-to-goodness best thing about the fighter class. Once per short rest, you can just take a whole additional action. Later on, this will let us perform Yasuo's ultimate ability in a single turn of combat. Now earlier I mentioned you'd have a choice for achieving Yasuo's passive ability, and here it is with the Martial Archetype. If you'd prefer to double your critical strike chance, we'll take the Champion Archetype. You gain the improved critical feature, which allows critical hits on a 19 as well as a 20 on your attack rolls. Now, if you prefer the temporary hit points instead, which represent the flow shield, you can take the Samurai Archetype. You'll gain a bonus proficiency in either a samurai skill or a language. More importantly, you gain the Fighting Spirit feature, which grants you the ability to, as a bonus action, give yourself advantage on weapon attack rolls until the end of your turn. When you activate this feature, you gain 5 temporary hit points. I would recommend Champion personally for the more consistent diggity dankage boost, plus crits are awesome, but you do you. We're going to switch over to Monk now to start really ramping up our mobility and our wind mastery. Monks have a d8 hit die. You're going to be a little squishier from here on out. You make up for the lower health pool with a variety of defensive abilities though, so I'm not that worried for you. Nothing new in the proficiency department. You already got the goods from taking fighter first. Unarmored defense is one of your most important features when it comes to defense. Your AC when not wearing armor and having no shield equals 10 plus your dex modifier plus your wisdom modifier. Also, Yasuo doesn't wear armor, so this fits perfectly. Martial Arts lets you use a scaling die to perform your unarmed strikes or monk weapon attacks. This will lock us into the short sword, but makes up for it by allowing us to increase damage to 1d8 at monk level 11 and 1d10 at monk level 17. It also allows us, when we take the attack action, to use our bonus action to make an unarmed strike, which uses the same martial arts scaling die for its damage. Second level monks unlock a slew of abilities through the key system. Key is the monk's bread and butter. You get points based on your monk level to spend doing Yasuo things. Your key ability save DC equals 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your wisdom modifier. This is why we'll be scaling our wisdom as well as our dex later on. Step of the Wind lets you spend 1 key point to take the disengage or dash action as a bonus action, and doubles your jump distance for your turn. This class feature combines with the mobile feat to really give Yasuo the ability to move around the battlefield. Patient Defense lets you spend a key point to take the dodge action as a bonus action. If you feel like your enemies are winding up a big strike on their next turn, use this to give yourself the best chance to avoid it. Flurry of Blows lets you spend 1 key point immediately after you take the attack action to make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. These strikes use your scaling martial arts die. While they don't feel very Yasuo-y, they will provide a decent amount of consistent damage. Unarmored Movement. Your movement speed increases by 10 feet. In case you're keeping score at home, that brings us to a whopping 50 feet of movement per turn. Nowhere on the battlefield is safe from you. Using the dash action on your turn, action surging dash again, and using a key point for Step of the Wind will give you dash again as a bonus action, which will bring your movement speed to a whopping 200 feet in a single round. Are we feeling mobile yet? Well, now it's time to
face the wind!
At 3rd level, monks choose their monastic tradition, which guides them along their journey in life. We'll be choosing the Way of the 4 Elements to take advantage of their wind manipulation abilities. Upon choosing this tradition, you'll get 2 elemental disciplines. Your elemental disciplines are specific ways that you can spend key points to manipulate the elements. First, we'll take Fists of Unbroken Air. Time to activate the Tornado portion of Steel Tempest. As an action, you can spend at least 2 key points and choose a creature within 30 feet. The creature has to make a save against your monk spell save DC. If it fails, it takes 3d10 bludgeoning damage, plus an extra d10 for each additional key point you spend. The creature is also knocked up to 20 feet away from you and knocked prone. Feel free to flavor this as Gathering Storm, knocking your opponent up and landing them on their rump. Next, we'll take Rush of the Gale Spirits. This allows you to spend 2 key points to cast Gust of Wind. Gust of Wind generates a 60-foot long stream of wind. Every target that starts its turn on the spell path must succeed on a strength save or be pushed back 15 feet. This lasts for up to a minute with concentration and provides a relatively strong AoE crowd control. At 3rd level, monks also learn how to deflect missiles. You can use your reaction to deflect or catch a projectile from a ranged weapon attack. Roll a d10, add your dexterity modifier, and your monk level, and reduce the damage by that amount. If the damage is reduced to 0, and you have a free hand to catch the missile, you can spend a key point to make your own ranged weapon attack with it. We can flavor this as Yasuo's wind wall ability for the deflection, and the catch redirect as the wind wall getting a little aggressive. Level 4 monks receive an ability score increase. We'll be going with a +1 to our dexterity and wisdom. Your monk spell save is based on your wisdom, so if we want some more Hasagi, we need to get a little wiser. Dexterity makes our finesse short sword hit more often and harder. At this level, monks also learn the ability to slow fall, which, as a reaction, allows you to reduce any falling damage you take by an equal amount to your monk level times 5. Flavor this as releasing a small breeze of wind to gently guide you down to the ground. Level 5 monks gain the ability to perform an extra attack, which means that anytime you use the attack action, you get off 2 attacks with your short sword instead of 1. Looks like you finally bought some attack speed items. Monks at this level also gain the prize ability Stunning Strike. By spending 1 key point after you hit a creature with a melee attack, you force it to make a constitution save, or be stunned until the end of your next turn. Make your DMs weep and rush to add stun immunity to every one of their creatures. At level 6, all melee attacks are now key empowered strikes, which allows them to overcome immunity and resistance to non-magical attack. Master Swordsman indeed. Your unarmored movement also levels up here, increasing your movement speed bonus 5 more feet to a total of 15. You are now able to cover 220 feet in a single turn of combat. That's roughly a top speed of 24 miles per hour. You also gain another elemental discipline. We're going to choose Clench of the North Wind. You can spend 3 key points to cast Hold Person. Hold Person, for the uninitiated, is a very powerful paralyzing spell. Once the target is paralyzed, any melee attack made within 5 feet of them is a guaranteed critical strike. Clench lets us finally use Yasuo's ultimate ability in a single turn of combat. Fitting that this is accessible at monk level 6. The combo works like this. Use Clench of the North Wind as your first action to paralyze your target. Activate your Step of the Wind as a bonus action to double your jump distance and leap to your held target. Finally, use your Action Surge to attack with 2 guaranteed critical strikes. Depending on your table's critical strike rules, your results may vary. Using rules as written, however, this combo will do between 24 to 64 damage with an average of 44. And it all recharges on a short rest. This is peak Yasuo fantasy in my opinion, and I'd play this build just to pull this off every short rest. Level 7 monks activate your evasion ability, which allows you to completely negate any damage from a successful dexterity saving throw, even if normally you'd take half. You also only take half damage from any failed dexterity saving throws. This can be flavored as your wind wall absorbing spells or ranged abilities. You also gain Stillness of Mind, which allows you to end 1 charm or frightening effect on yourself. Looks like someone bought QSS. At level 8, you gain an additional ability score increase. We'll be putting both points into Wisdom. A lot of your damage is tied into your monk spell saves, which this will bump up an additional point. Level 9 monk gives you an unarmored movement improvement, which allows you to move along vertical or liquid surfaces without falling. You're so fast, gravity just says, nah bro, I'm good, you go ahead. Level 10, we gain Purity of Body, which makes you immune to disease or poison. Not super Yasuo related, but still a nice ability which will definitely come up at least once or twice in your campaign. Your unarmored movement bumps up another 5 feet to a total of 20. We're now up to 240 feet in one round. That's a speed of 27 miles an hour. Now you and Usain Bolt can sprint together. That's neat. At level 11, your martial arts ability scales our short sword damage to 1d8. Finally! You also learn an additional elemental discipline. We're going to choose Ride the Wind. Spending 4 key points gives you the ability to cast Fly on yourself, giving you 60 feet of flying speed for 10 minutes if you maintain concentration. Another one that's not very Yasuo-y, but come on, Flight is badass. Level 12 monks gain a feat, so we'll be taking Martial Adept, which allows you once per short rest to roll a superiority die and add it to 2 Battlemaster maneuvers of your choosing. We'll take Lunging Attack and Sweeping Attack. These will give us Steel Tempest Lunge and the Sweeping Blade Spin to fully utilize that ability. Lunging Attack lets you increase your attack reach by 5 feet and adds your superiority die to the damage dealt by said attack. With Sweeping Attack, upon hitting someone, you can use your superiority die to attempt to damage another creature within 5 feet of the target and within your reach. If the attack roll would have landed a hit on this creature as well, it takes damage equal to what you rolled on your superiority die. 13th level monks gain Tongue of the Sun and Moon. This lets you understand all spoken languages, and all creatures intelligent enough to understand a language understand you. Built-in Google Translate is cool, but not really relevant to Yasuo. At level 14, your unarmored movement levels up for the final time for this build. 260 feet in one turn. Tell Usain to hurry up because now you're passing him at a whopping 30 miles per hour. You also gain the Diamond Soul feature, which grants you proficiency in all saving throws. On top of that, when you fail a save, you can spend 1 key point to re-roll it and take the second result. Level 15 monks gain the Timeless Body feat. You don't suffer from the frailty of age and can't be aged magically. You can still die of old age, but you don't need food or water. Which makes sense. Yasuo has been out since 2013 and the man hasn't aged today. 16th level monks receive the final ability score improvement that will reach for this build. I would take this opportunity to round off any odd scores you haven't made up for with items. In our current build, that'd be our dexterity and charisma, bringing them both to 18 and 14 respectively. Level 17 monk is going to be our final level in this build. Our short sword damage increases to 1d10 thanks to martial arts. We also gain our final elemental discipline. We'll take Mist Stance. This lets you spend 4 key points to cast Gaseous Form on yourself. In Gaseous Form, you have a flight speed of 10 feet, can enter and occupy other creature spaces, and you have resistance to non-magical damage. You'll also have advantage on strength, dexterity, and constitution saves. For our final elemental discipline, this isn't the best, but we already snagged all the great win ones earlier, so what can you do? Alright, now that we've completed the build, let's see how we did. Let's start with the good. We're mobile. It's very unlikely you're going to encounter a creature you can't outrun. You'll be Hasakiing all over the battlefield, and there's nothing your poor DM can do but weep and try to bump up the monster health pool behind their screen. We also crushed the wind mastery aspect. I think we really captured the essence of Yasuo's ability to manipulate the wind and combined it well with his swordsman abilities. Last breath. Combining Clench of the North Wind, Step of the Wind, and 2 guaranteed critical strikes with your short sword will allow you to duplicate Yasuo's ultimate ability. No flavoring required. Now onto the bad. You're very squishy. With only a 17 AC and 147 hit points, if you get hit, it's gonna hurt. You do have lots of abilities that make it difficult to actually get hit, however, and with your mobility, you have a high opportunity to avoid damage altogether. With evasion, you're gonna make even the strongest fireball caster ask, "Am I a joke to you?" The answer is yes. Yes, you are. Your key points are limited. You only have 17 key points, which sounds like a lot, but a lot of your Way of the 4 Elements features are tied into this, and it's universally considered the biggest con of this monastic tradition. Thankfully, they do come back on a short rest though, so at least they won't be gone for long. Finally, Way of the Wanderer, Yasuo's passive, can only be half completed in this build. So, what did you think? Are there changes you'd make to the build? If so, comment below and let us know. I've included a link to this build via D&D Beyond in the description below if you'd like to view the character sheet digitally. I've also included a link to the character sheet in a printable PDF if you're a pen and paper kind of person. If you enjoy this type of content, please like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment on which champion you'd like us to take on next. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll catch you on the Rift, or in the Forgotten Realms.